What if everything you believed about justice was a lie? What if the very people who claimed to be the guardians of democracy were, in reality, the ones quietly tearing it down piece by piece, brick by brick, right under our noses? Washington, D.C. had witnessed its fair share of scandals, sure. Corruption, controversy, and political games were nothing new in the heart of American power. But this was something else entirely. This wasn't just another policy debate, another partisan clash clogging up the airwaves. No. This was different. This was a moment where rhetoric collided headfirst with reality. A moment where one of the most influential, most polarizing voices in progressive politics was about to face something she couldn't spin, deflect, or tweet her way out of: the cold, hard truth. And like so many political firestorms before it, it all started with a leak. Because doesn't it always? A single document, a few damning words on a page, slipped into the right hands, whispered into the right ears. And then, boom. The headlines erupted like a tidal wave, plastered in bold, screaming capital letters across every media outlet in the country. Police car light AOC under fire. Police car light. Police car light allegations of aiding illegal immigrants. Police car light. Police car light biggest hearing of the year. Tom Homan versus AOC. Police car light. A political and legal showdown like no other. Within hours, social media became a battlefield. A digital coliseum where supporters and critics locked horns in a never-ending war of outrage, accusations, and fiery rhetoric. And now, here they were. The U.S. Capitol, swarming with reporters like sharks drawn to the scent of blood. Cameras locked and loaded, fingers hovering over record buttons, ready to capture the moment. Because today, one of Washington's most controversial figures, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, was about to walk into a room that could decide the fate of her entire political career. A woman hailed by her followers as a fearless warrior for justice and condemned by her critics as the ultimate political opportunist. Today, the world would see which one she truly was. On the other side of the battlefield stood Tom Homan, a man who had spent his entire career in the trenches of America's immigration enforcement. He wasn't a politician. He didn't care about sound bites. He wasn't here to score viral moments or win Twitter wars. He was here for one reason, and one reason only: to expose the truth. And if that truth happened to bring down one of the Democratic Party's fastest rising stars, so be it. Then she arrived. AOC stepped out of her black SUV with the kind of polished confidence that only comes from knowing the cameras are always rolling. Flashbulbs exploded around her. Reporters shouted her name, their voices clashing in a chaotic symphony of scandal and speculation. She waved, smiled, a look perfected through years of political theater. But confidence? Confidence is easy at a rally, surrounded by cheering crowds. It's easy when you're throwing rhetorical punches on social media. It's a whole different game when you're stepping into a room where everyone smells blood in the water. And she wasn't the only one who felt it. Inside, waiting behind those heavy Capitol doors, sat Tom Homan. Expression unreadable, posture relaxed, as if he had already won. Unlike AOC, he wasn't here to perform. He was here to dismantle an argument, to cut through the noise and theatrics, to remind everyone that laws still mattered, even if certain politicians acted as if they were above them. But this wasn't just about her. Oh, no. The whispers had already begun. Was she acting alone? Or was this part of something much bigger? A carefully coordinated effort? A strategy designed behind closed doors? Because if one member of Congress was caught actively undermining U.S. immigration law, how deep did this go? Who else knew? Who else was complicit? These weren't just political questions anymore. They were legal ones. And if today's hearing didn't go her way, AOC wouldn't just be fighting for her career. She'd be fighting to stay out of a courtroom. Inside the U.S. Capitol, the hearing room was a pressure cooker. Rows of lawmakers sat poised, their expressions ranging from calculated indifference to barely concealed anticipation. Reporters crowded along the back wall, fingers hovering over keyboards, ready to document every single syllable, every glance, every flicker of emotion that could signal a shift in power. The air? Thick. Thick with expectation. Thick with something bigger than politics. Because this wasn't just a hearing. This wasn't just a spectacle. This was a reckoning. At the center of it all, Tom Homan leaned forward, his eyes scanning the room like a general surveying the battlefield before the first shot was fired. He wasn't here for dramatics. He wasn't here for political theater. He was here to deliver a brutal, cold dose of reality. And in a city built on power, deception, and illusion, the only question that mattered now was, who was about to be exposed? Was this a moment so raw, so charged with consequence, that even the most seasoned political operatives felt the ground shift beneath them? Homan didn't flinch. He didn't smirk. He didn't revel in the moment like some partisan warrior scoring points for his side. He simply stared. The room, once a chaotic mess of crosstalk and political theater, fell eerily silent. For the first time since this clash began, neither side spoke. Because now, this wasn't just an argument. This was a challenge. And it wasn't just AOC's political career on the line anymore. It was her future. Homan leaned in. "You tell me, Congresswoman," he said, voice low but laced with iron. "Because the last time I checked, aiding and abetting illegal immigration, especially from a position of power, is a federal crime." A heartbeat passed. Then another. And in that space, something shifted. AOC had played this game before. She knew how to turn a hearing into a headline, how to transform a moment of scrutiny into a viral takedown. But this wasn't Twitter. There was no edit button, no carefully curated posts, no algorithm to push her words into a bubble of supporters ready to amplify her outrage. This was real. Her lips parted as if to respond, but for the first time in this hearing, there was hesitation. Because this time, the cameras weren't just watching. They were waiting to see if she would fight, fold, or fumble. The weight of the accusation was too big to brush off. This wasn't just political mudslinging. This was an open dare. And if she took one wrong step, if she said the wrong thing, she might not be debating immigration policy anymore. She might be debating her own defense in a courtroom. Outside, the media war had already begun. The headlines were spreading like wildfire. Fire AOC faces accusations of criminal activity, live. Fire Tom Homan versus AOC, the showdown that could end a career. Fire did AOC cross the line from advocacy to criminality? Social media exploded. The left spun it as a desperate right-wing attack, a smear campaign meant to silence a progressive icon. The right framed it as the moment the mask slipped. Proof that for all the slogans, for all the righteous speeches, the law still applied to everyone, even those in power. And somewhere in the chaos, the truth was still waiting to be uncovered. Because this wasn't just about AOC. This wasn't just about Homan. This was about who truly gets held accountable in Washington. And whether justice was just another illusion in the political theater of America.